College of Technology. I think Mr. Moses is here. And Patrick, Muriuki, and Gladys from Agricultural Concepts. So Eastlands College of Technology had a concept that they've seen working very well in Spain. And it's a different type of governance structure. So just as Mr. Anthony had said, get your regulation right, get your governance right. One type of governance structure is you work yourself, you're on your own, you're a sole proprietor. Or you can be registered as a limited company. But what ECT really wanted to do was support people to create what's called worker cooperatives. So you work together, you have a shared vision, and how can you be organized in a way that you can have access to shared workspaces, share your tools, and continue share your marketing. Maybe that way you can get more jobs. As you said, it's hard to get jobs. So maybe if you pool together, you could get more jobs. And so with Agricultural Concepts, and Patrick is in the room, we supported the State Department of Cooperatives to create bylaws for worker cooperatives. And the bylaws help with governance because there'll be policies on, HR policies on how to share the profits, etc. But the difference between a worker cooperative and a limited company is you jointly own your business together. Each member has one vote, so you feel you're more in control. You're not, it's just seen as more equitable. And then you all have a salary if there is steady income. And then if you've put in more effort, then that's rewarded through higher dividend at the end of the year. So we have the experts in the room here. I just wanted to mention that that's a different type of governance structure you could consider in the construction field. If you want to come together. And we also have members of United Fundi Worker Cooperative in this room, so thank you for attending, who are our first registered worker cooperative using these bylaws. So I think a round of applause for them, because they're really pioneering. They're pioneering a new way, and of course we all learn, we'll keep improving as we learn, but they're pioneering a new way to govern and bring their skills together. Just give me a minute. Sorry. The third thing I want to talk about is Gokhamka, and that really hits on the point the gentleman said about markets. So how many here know about Gokhamka at all? Gokhamka stands for Gong Road, Kariobangi, and Kamakunji. And it was the State Department of Housing and Urban Development and the SME Advisory Unit under the Office of the President, because they understand access to markets are difficult. And they're driving a national program to do housing. So their concept is how can we make the artisans, the workers who work in these clusters get access to supplying their services at housing projects. And they tested this at Gokhamka. Our role as FSD was very small. It was to do a case study on how it worked and make suggestions on how it could be working better. But it was a very novel concept, and you may have heard P.S. Hinga say this over and over, that if we standardize the doors and windows, and if we train the artisans to make these doors and windows to that standard specification, then that can be increased volume, increased better quality, and that scale is going to drive the formalization of the Juakali industry. And they made that all happen at Park Road. So Park Road is national government land. There are 1,300 housing units already built. And I think there are over 6,000 doors and windows, because each unit has several windows and a couple of doors. And what the government agencies did is they negotiated with the main contractor, that's the China Road, the China Road contractor, to engage with the formal structure. So they went to the clusters that represent 11,000 artisans from wood and metalwork. And they brought them together in a limited company. Now this is a different type of governance, and as a group of people you can choose what works for you better. So they selected the limited company, which is the prevalent way of doing things, and the only way at that time, because the bylaws we've done with ECT have only got approved last year. And they organized the clusters in this limited company called Gokamka. And that Gokamka was created, it had a contract with China's State Construction and Engineering Company. That was the main developer to deliver the doors and windows. But they faced the challenge of finance. So here the government is solving for market. The government is making that very hard attempt to bring together the supplier who can make the doors and windows and the demand, right? So the contractor could have made them themselves, but the government, in the interest of promoting micro and small enterprises, was very insistent that this is part of the way the buildings were going to be delivered. So what Gokamka encountered, unfortunately, was a difficulty in accessing finance because they had to buy the raw materials to make the doors to deliver them. And this extract from the case study that's available on our website shows what I think all of you have lived the journey. When you go to look for finance, what are the challenges you find? You may find a very long duration between loan application and disbursement. You may find the interest rates are very high. You may be required to provide collateral which you do not have. You could have been blacklisted by the Credit Reference Bureau for a small error that you can't correct now, and now you're not seen as worthy of credit. You could lack the necessary documents, or you can't borrow the amount you need. So that's what Gokamka faced. Even though the government had negotiated the contract, they had a contract to deliver, they could not get financing. The first step they negotiated to overcome this financing hurdle was a pre-financing contract with the developer, so with their client. And while the interest rate was very high, 20%, it at least allowed them to start. And who here is not aware that sometimes people borrow at much, much higher than this because you have the desperation, you want to start, yeah? So this was essential to them starting their delivery. And then again, with government support, Housing Finance Bank stepped in and created an overdraft facility at 13.5%. So this really shows that getting access to finance, even when you have the work, is not easy. I think I will take a minute to say that the reason it's not easy is banks have so much capital, and our government is also borrowing very highly on the treasury bonds and treasury bills. So we can't just blame the banks, because the interest rate the government's borrowing at is quite high. So it's much easier as a bank manager to say, let me just lend the government a few billion and sit back and get my 10, 11, 12, 13, 14% instead of underwriting small amounts which have a risk that people may not repay. So you have to see, we're also caught in this very conflicting thing that because there's so much borrowing by our own government, it makes it hard for providers of capital to go looking for you. Do you see? Because there's an easy, lower risk alternative. That's what we always say in policy forums we're called to. So I think one thing I'd like to really emphasize this slide is what we're trying to do with Pezesha is reduce these barriers. Reduce these barriers that you can't access financing. We may not, as FSD, be able to give you lots of market. I think the market may come more from your efforts to network, your recommendations, doing one good job well will lead you to other clients. Starting small and being perseverant. I met someone here who is very inspiring. He has a Facebook page, he has a shop, so he gets people coming to the shop, etc. So he is getting work. And I think for a player like FSD to solve for market is a bit harder. We can help to elevate some ideas, we can help to create, attention to workers, etc. We can do a little bit to try to organize more people with State Department like has been done for Park Road. But a lot of access to market may come from your own efforts of really looking for the market that you can serve and getting good referrals on a job well done. What we are trying to slowly work on step by step with Pezesha is access to finance. So if you have the job, please, you shouldn't struggle. And the finance you get should be tailored to your needs. It should be affordable, yet it should be at a price that's sustainable. So let's connect the dots. So these are the dots that I was practicing with my kids, and I asked them, what did you learn? And they said, oh, the market is huge. So by that we mean the suppliers, the people who need finance is huge. You are savvy, you're able to access things on technology platforms. You want to be in business, you want to invest, you want to educate your families and yourselves. You need access to markets for your skills. That's the problem. And the shocks of life make you vulnerable. So this is prefaced by me, but it's nice to know that even teenagers can understand these problems. Credit and access to finance is critical to help you overcome the shock. But we have to be careful how we administer credit. We can't push it. It must be tailored to your needs. So I want to showcase a very recent study that's been done by University of Nairobi researchers. The source is there. And it was shocking. They interviewed borrowers on digital credit who are accessing digital credit. And they found that youth borrowers are attracted to digital loans because they're easy to access, they're private, they're convenient. But when they asked these borrowers, can you calculate your interest rate? So that's the first chart on the left. Can you calculate your interest rate on this loan you've taken? It was very sad that over 38% did not have the ability to calculate the interest rate. And that's why we say, and I think that's why financial literacy is important to FSD and to Possessia, that we cannot push a loan on somebody if it results in higher overall indebtedness. Because if you don't know, if you haven't been taught that by taking this loan, this is what you have to pay and this is when you have to pay it, this is your payment cycle, then we're not doing you a justice to give you that loan. And it's not sustainable. So here I want to quote on a very, very good study. It's from 2016, but it still speaks to how can credit be helpful? How can credit not be harmful? Because that's not the purpose of what we want to do. And we know enough about harmful credit. We hear about suicide cases, don't we? People take loans, they can't pay. We hear about it. But credit can be helpful. So these are the points that I took away from this paper. And it looked at credit in many, many African countries. It was done by FSD Africa, a sister company with Bankable Frontiers, a really good research and think tank organization. So the first thing they said is it should be simple. Your customers should know what is the product they're getting into and the purpose of the product and how are they going to manage the product. The second thing is slow credit is good. So counterintuitive, people think they want things instantly. We're not saying there should be a long time lag, that by the time your credit's approved, your opportunity's gone. But it shouldn't be so instant that you even haven't had time to digest what you're getting into. And you're taking credit, but you haven't really understood if it's right for you. So some level of asking the right questions, some level of due diligence, some level of asking, will you be able to afford the repayment, is very, very important. The third thing we said before is pressurizing borrowers to take loans. So when you sell credit, when you push loans, is bad. It's going to result in bad loans. Then having one payment on one loan is much easier to manage than when you have multiple loans for multiple things and multiple payments. And we all do that. We all can take multiple loans for different things. But this is just the research that shows when does credit help. When you have one loan, you're focusing on one loan, then if you get a shock, or if your contract didn't go as well as you expected, or if the cost of your materials were higher than you expected, so your profit is less, you're still able to repay that loan better than if you had many loans that you were juggling. Then the other one is you're able to manage your credit when your income is increasing. Now that's kind of obvious, right? Because if you borrow 1,000 and you have to pay back with interest, you need your income to increase to pay for it. But very often we're willing to provide credit even without making sure that there is an income earning potential from the purpose of the credit. Unless it's consumption credit, you'll also, all consumption loans are also looked at from the income of the family. So if a family is borrowing for education, for example, they'll still be looked at from the income. Will their income be enough to pay for the education? So then we go to the debt service obligations. That speaks to the previous chart I showed. Do you know how to calculate your debt service obligation? Is it simple for you, and are you aware of it? And the final one is, credit should help you accumulate assets. So it should help you accumulate land, housing, tools, equipment, etc. And credit provides stability to erratic income to overcome moments of crisis when it's like stock needed for business. So it's used to keep your investment capital whole. So I think this was an excellent paper. I really took time to study it. Because even in my training, I haven't done a lot of fintech before. I'm excited, I'm learning. You know, fintech is new for all of us. But these are the rules that we want to keep in mind as we partner with Pozesha. We haven't got a product ready to give you. We're not selling it to you. We're asking you, where are you in your journey for access to being, you know, for construction work? What do you need? And we want to design something with Pozesha. So we as FSD Kenya are working with Pozesha. We want to design and pilot a financial product, and we recognize that Pozesha is a strong partner because they have their digital license. So in 2021, CBK created a new law to regulate bad lending, and they said every lender must have a license from CBK, and there are very few in the country right now, I think about 22. And Pozesha is one of them. So this is why we've selected to work with Pozesha. They're regulated by CBK. But we want to design a product that will allow construction workers to buy tools and potentially to access working capital. Maybe you have to buy materials before you can service your job, but you don't have access to buy the materials. We want the tenor, we think, to be between 6 and 12 months, but we want to hear from you. What's the right tenor? And we're targeting an affordable interest rate of 15%. That's our target. We hope we can keep within that. We also know that there will be additional costs, like the tools you buy must be insured, etc. So we need to look at all the detail. And we have an insurance partner in the room, APA. And so what we're undertaking to do, and our appeal to you, is to participate in a demands needs assessment. And I'd ask Patrick again to wave his hand. So that's Patrick from Agricultural Concepts International. He led all the work for worker cooperatives. He understands the construction sector very well, and he has a team. It's not just him, but he's the face today. So that's his number I've put there. But please, if you feel you're in the segment we're targeting, you're a skilled construction worker, you may work on housing or not, but you know, we're bringing this through a housing program. So obviously housing is our deep interest, but we're not limiting it to housing. So you're skilled, but you require access to finance to buy tools or to buy working capital to enable you to deliver your services. We want to design something and pilot something with Pozesha after hearing from you, because we can't just design it. You know, maybe I heard from someone in the room, they want to buy a drill with 45,000 shillings. You bring in a few borrowers who may be a bit vulnerable, so your whole portfolio is not at risk, right? So we'll be looking at all that, and that's why data is very, very important, because we want to understand if someone paid well, even faster than expected, because I often see the opposite. I often see people pay off their loans faster than they were supposed to. And the good thing in Kenya is we don't have prepayment penalties. In other markets, if you pay back faster, you're also penalized, you know, because the banks had done a projection of what they were going to get. Right? So there's no prepayment penalty usually. So we want to really understand if someone paid faster, why, you know, and if someone couldn't pay, why. So even understanding why, and it's not like there'll be stories we didn't know. We all know what the shocks are, right? But it's just capturing the data so that the entire portfolio will be well-rounded. Because the only way this can scale, as I said, FSD doesn't have the millions at all. We have a few, you know, anytime I go to a partner, I say, I want to work with you. You know, I have X million. They're like, dollars? No. Shillings. Oh, we don't want to work with you. We often get that. There's so much wasted money in the ecosystem. But we love where we work. We work at the real intersection in the real economy. So we want to use the learnings through a pilot. And the reason we're saying 15% as a target interest rate is we don't want it to be too low in interest rate, because we don't know other players who'll come and give the big money, who don't need at least 15%. Do you understand? We'll also need to think about cost of insurance of the tools, etc. So there's no magic, actually, with getting this right. It's just really trying to get as much data as possible, not trying to be over enthusiastic and over optimistic, like listen to the borrowers. If they feel they can only pay back this much, either they're not ready to borrow or they need to borrow less. And then the last thing is they could borrow in groups. So chances are, and that's where the worker cooperative is very powerful, they will own tools together. So whether you're organized as a worker cooperative or not, you could be organized informally. You could be 5 friends saying, we've all been trained by Build Her. We think having this handle will make it better, but there needs to be a way of trust that the tool is, and the tool is secure. Like there needs to be that level of trust that they can share the tool. So these are ideas we're exploring, but I think it would be a very important partner to help us define it right, at least for your graduates. Thank you very much. We're here for the rest of the day. You can always catch me in a break. So there's one more question, or should we take it in a break because we're running late? Just approach me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sita. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Sita Shah. We can do much better. Like much better. Thank you so much, Sita, for that wonderful presentation. And I think just to give you guys comfort, we get more opportunities to ask more questions, right? We have a panel discussion later in the afternoon. So just round up all the questions. Sita will be here. You can ask all the questions that you want to ask. Now, this maybe before we take a break, I'm also super excited about all the work that we're getting to do with FSD Kenya, right? Because we're trying to bridge the MSME financing gap, which currently stands at 2.3 trillion Kenya shillings. So we're trying to bridge that gap one sector at a time. And our partnership, of course, with FSD Kenya will enable the MSMEs in the affordable housing and the construction space to be able to get access to affordable financing, to get these tools of trade that they need to be able, of course, to ensure business continuity. So thank you so much, Sita, for that wonderful presentation. At this juncture, I want us to realize another beat. Take of our 5 minutes break, but before that, I would like to maybe pour a word to the audience. I hope you'll appreciate this because, of course, all of us, if not most of us, are entrepreneurs, right? And so, of course, the question is, why didn't the entrepreneur invest in electricity? If you have an answer to that, of course, we have a gift part for you. Why didn't the entrepreneur invest in electricity? First come, first serve. Yes? Monopoly from Kenya Power. So I want to the audience to look for the response, right? So the third one, monopoly from Kenya Power.
Who's afraid of the shock? Afraid of the shock.
Afraid of the shock? Everybody? Afraid of the shock? Those people are afraid of the shock? Yeah, fortunately or unfortunately, yes. The entrepreneur didn't want to invest in electricity because they didn't want to get shocked by the bills, right? I hope you appreciate that. So, ladies and gentlemen, so far so good. I hope we're getting a lot of learnings, getting a lot of takeaways, because we say this event is for you guys, right? How can we make you more sustainable? How can we help you grow through financial literacy and financial education? So at this time, feel free to mingle, interact the next 5 minutes, take a breather, and then we call upon the next speaker to continue their presentation. Thank you so much. Yeah, you can ask your neighbor their name.
Which is a platform to connect to micro retailers So that is training for micro retailers and support. So real pleasure.
All right, better hand clap for TechnoServe. Now, I would like you to tell me, and we have Duta here, who is in organic, you can hear us? Is it? Okay. So, just remain here. Yeah, who's in organic products?
Yes.
So, today we are talking about bookkeeping, and we'll start looking at record keeping. Now, I would like you, sirs, each one of you, do you have notebooks? Were you given notebooks? Okay, did you carry a notebook? And that's why we're having this discussion today, right? Because you must have notebooks. I want you to list 5 records you think Duta should keep. And Stephen should keep for their businesses. And some of you are not writing. 5 records. Whatever record you think about, there are no correct or wrong answers here. Fine, I can see some of us have finished, and I may pick on any one of you. You know, I was somewhere, I asked them to do the same, and one entrepreneur wrote a Bible. I'm still rethinking through. So just write 5 records they should keep. Done? Okay, let's continue because of time. Now, Duta, tell us, what records, business records do you keep, if you're free to share?
Okay.
Yes.
We keep business records such as the sales we make every day. We also check what products we sell. And then, of course, at the end of the week, we do an analysis and see which products are fast moving. We also check on debt, which customers are picking products, what is it called, without paying. And then we also check our return customers, who are our return customers, who are our paying customers, and which are the products that are fast moving.
All right, a good hand clap for Duta. Yeah. I'm grateful that you are keeping records. So just remain there, Steve. Which records do you keep?
These are difficult questions because we teach others how to do record keeping. But some of the records that we keep are who are the entrepreneurs that we are supporting, at what stage are they, and what are their allocations, what are the business challenges that they are keeping. But I can also shift a little bit and say what we teach them to keep. For example, who are the people that they have given goods on credit to, how much is that, who are the people who are their most valuable customers, right? And also stock keeping, of course. So what are the fastest moving goods, what are the products that have the highest product marginal profits. Yeah, I think just as examples.
Yeah, so thank you, Steve. Let's appreciate Steve. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your business experience. You may have your seats. Yes, now I want us just to have a glance at some of the records we should be keeping. And some of them are mentioned by Duta and Stephen. Business expenses, I didn't hear any of them talk about that. Sales records, I think Duta does very well on that. Customer debt list. Do you have customers who owe us money? Huh? And where do you keep that? In your head? Huh? Is it? Okay, anyway, that's why we're having this discussion. You have debts and loans, you have Lizard, you have Mshwari, you have Pesosha as well. Do you keep a record of that? Okay, that needs to be on your list. Customer list. I think Rita emphasized that, and they're doing a good job around that, I could tell. Vendors and suppliers. Yeah, you need to have a list of who are your suppliers you deal with, including their details. What do they supply? What in what quantities? What are the prices like? Receipts. I didn't hear any of them talk about receipts. And please, when you get a receipt, because most of us have smartphones, is it? Some receipts, when you keep them for 2 weeks, what happens, or a month? So how do you keep that? Take a photo, is it? Create a folder even if you're using your phone, and then keep your receipts there. If you have a laptop or a computer, then do the same. So I would encourage you for receipts to scan and then keep them, because within 1 year, some of them will be blank. Employee information. So you have someone you've left in your shop. Do you have any form of the documentation, or you just know, huyo msichana wangu, Jane, huyo? No, you need to have proper record keeping. Have her details, have ID copy, have relevant documentation, have a file for that. As an entrepreneur, that's important. Tax documentations. Some of us pay the Kanjo fee, right? Do you keep, do you file that? Do you keep a record of that? Or your licenses, or you pay tax to KRA, or whatever form of tax payment. So you need to document that. Licenses, permits, invoices. So sometimes you have clients who you are supplying items to them, they need to pay you. Some may request for invoices. Invoices just list the items you supply to them, the quantity, the prices, and the total amount they need to pay you. So you need to keep that even when the customers pay you. You keep that in a file. Purchase orders, you keep that. You go to a supplier, you have a whole list. I want these 10 items in these quantities, right? So that's a purchase order. Yeah, whether you are writing it in an exercise book or whatever, or you bought a purchase order book, then that's an important record for you. M-Pesa bank statements. Any of us who has ever bought that, to have an M-Pesa statement for their pay bill or till number for their business. Anyone? Oh, okay. At least, we have 2. That's great. Okay. Contracts. So you get a contract with a supplier, or even a contract with a customer, or you get a corporate client who gives you an MOU or an agreement, whatever sort of documentation it is. Then you need to document that. So these are some of the very basic records you should keep. But let's look at what is record keeping, because this needs to be part of what we do on a daily basis. So this is basically a process of tracking and recording business transactions on daily basis, right? So what education do you need to have to do this? It does not require any expertise or skills, right? So this, you are recording, today what have I sold? Who are the customers who have bought from me? What items have I bought from my suppliers? Have I full lizard for the business today? Or have I taken a loan for the business today? So just keeping a record of the same. In the morning, I have this quantity of my stock. In the evening, how did I close? Right? And I didn't get to know some of you, maybe you had an introduction earlier in the morning. But assuming you sell, what do you sell, ma'am?
I'm a general supplier. Yes.
Give us one item you sell, or you supply.
Stationery.
Okay. Files. Okay, files. So for example, and what's your name?
Nancy Midecha.
Okay, Nancy supplies stationery. So assuming she has files, because that's part of what she supplies. So in the morning she has 100 of them. But during the day she has sold. So she needs to record how many have been left. So we say bookkeeping is a daily task. So it's on daily basis, right? Okay, how to do it? There are 3 things you must document on daily basis. 3 things. First, we said we're in business. Our business is, what is our business as entrepreneurs? Making money. So you have to record on whether you're making money on daily basis. Is that correct? So that's the first record you need to keep. Sales or revenue. Revenue generally or income means how much you're making. So every day you need to have a list of the money you have made. Correct? Are we in agreement? Okay. The next thing you need to look at are your expenses, because when you're in business, the business of making money, then you have to incur expenses. So again, you record that. Are we together to that point? Thirdly, at least I can see someone giving you notebooks, so you have no excuse today. Also spending. Then how much are you spending? Then how much do you have in your bank or M-Pesa or Airtel or other mobile wallets? So how do you get those? The last one, for the bank, you ask your bank for your statement. Now every year, you need to do that more regularly so that you make more informed decisions, and we'll see why that is important. So every month, you get your statements for the business, whether it's M-Pesa, and this is how you generate your M-Pesa statement, using *334#. So, and then you just follow the prompts, and there you will have your statement. So you can specify the period. Is it 3 months? Is it 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? So it's important to always have access to that. All right, ready to get started. Where do you start? I almost said first get the file. You must have a file, a business file. Yes, but the first thing you need to do is to separate your business and personal finances. That's where you start. So that now you have finances for your business and you have finances for yourself as an entrepreneur. How many have done that here? How many have separated their finances? How many each? Now this is always the ish as well, eh? In the process, eh? In the process, eh? Now, yeah, I get asked now, how do we do this? You can have 2 Safaricom lines. So one you purpose to dedicate it to your personal expenses, and the other one for the business. That's the kienyeji way of doing it. But a better way of doing it is getting a till number, a pay bill number for your business. So you remain with your Airtel, Telcom, or Safaricom line, and the M-Pesa line or so. And then here you have your till number and your pay bill number. So that's an easier way of separating that, right? Okay, now, the other thing, get a file. Just start where you are. These files, Nancy, how much do they cost? You're in that business? 220 shillings, eh? A big one. I know, yeah, the box file, right? So 220. So get a file. To file, if you're digital, you've adopted technology, create a file in your laptop or computer, or use cloud solutions or so. Then keep accurate records. You know, we have this small business who was training the son to be an entrepreneur. So one of the things the son had to do in the evening or weekends is to take records. Record stock, do stock taking, you know, write receipts, expenses, blah, blah. So what the son was doing, because he realized it was a lot of work. So if he saw like an expense of $9.89 and 50 cents, he was like, this is too much work writing all this. So he could round off to 1,000. Anaandika tu moja, 3 zeros, right? Now you need to be very keen on that. So keep accurate records. Now, the other thing people keep asking, do I have the expertise? We say bookkeeping does not require expertise. It doesn't require any special skill. It's just a matter of writing down. Do I have time? You need to create time for record keeping. Because if I'm your customer, I'm walking to your shop, I don't want to come by, you're talking to me and you're doing your bookkeeping. No, that is not good manners for entrepreneurs. So you need to schedule time for your bookkeeping. If your peak hours are between in the morning, lunchtime and evening, that's not the best time to do your bookkeeping. You do it when it's off peak, when the customers are not coming to your shop or when you're not receiving your calls. If it's 9 a.m. or it could be after lunch, maybe 3 p.m. or later in the evening, then you need to schedule time for bookkeeping, because we say this is a daily role. Now, does it add value? Remember, we say there are 3 documentations you must keep every day, 3 of them. We talked of sales or revenue, how much money you're making, expenses, and then how much money you have in the bank or your mobile wallet, like the M-Pesa. So, does it add value when you do that? Now, when you know how much money you're making, and I liked what Nduta broke it down, she even gets to know who are her repeated customers. How much do they buy? She also keeps a record of customer debts. So she has a record of the same. Now that will help her to make informed decisions, is it? So she'll get to know this customer buys this kind of a product. And they buy this, this is their frequency. They buy every month, or they buy every week, or quarterly. That's important information for her. So it helps her making a decision. So she will decide, these customers mainly live along Westlands, and they mostly buy around this date, end of the month. So she can decide to automate her business and decide, I'm going to have my physical shop, but I'll also have an online shop. And then I will hire a boda rider to be delivering my product to these customers, because they're largely based along within Westlands. So that's the importance of keeping records. Or she will decide, let me list my product on the SME, the blue page, pay that 3,000, and then my customers can be getting from there. Or else she would decide to talk to them, ask them, I've seen you buy your product on the last day of the month or the first week of the month. Can I be delivering this product to you during this period? Right? Do you see how important it is? Now, when you also keep a record of the same, you get to know particular customers who buy this product, they don't pay. So that also communicates something. Maybe you need not to invest in that particular product. You need to focus on another one. So it helps you make wise business decisions. It also helps you measure your business performance. There are some products possibly you need not to have them because they don't give you money. But how will you know that they don't give you money until you keep your records? Is it? Is it? Yeah, there are also customers you need not to dedicate time to them. Do you think so? Huh? Yeah, their customers will come, they take all your time, they don't buy, they buy product, but they want credit. Maybe you don't need to be there. You need to focus on those ones who can afford to pay your product and are willing to pay for the same. Now, the other thing, and I've noted this with some of our small businesses. Biashara Africa works with small businesses. We mainly focus on women and youth-owned small businesses. We have trained over 10,000. So I have a bit of experience how they operate their businesses. So we had this particular lady. Actually, we also had a gentleman with a similar problem. So you find that in business, there are particular peaks of the month, like end of the month, People buy a lot, or mid-month, or early in the month, is it? We have those peak times. So this lady, every time it was peak time and they're busy, they made money, she would go on the next weekend, she would go on a trip, a road trip, or wherever. So she'd be in Mombasa with her buddies, you know. Every time she makes money, you know, she just goes and, naitaga nini, what do you call it? Huh? What do you call it? The gentleman in a red jacket, what do you call it? When you make money and you go to spoil yourself? Huh? What? Or thanking yourself. I think there is another term. What do you call? Yes. Or kujivinjari. There is another term you call. Yes. Huh? Oh. So she would always do that. So by the time she's coming back, there is no money, you know. Yeah, but she was not keeping records. That was also a big issue. So you need to track your expenses, how you're spending your money. That's important. And then it also gives you access to your customers, employee information. You need to understand your customers very well. Because that's how you get your money. Now the last one, I know most of us don't bother with that. But 2 months ago, I went to do a presentation in such a meeting. And one lady, you can't believe it, she runs a small business. She had been charged every month. There was a deduction that needed not to be done for almost a year. And she had not detected. It was an error. A whole, from the bank, the deduction was being done from the bank. Yeah, then so you need, that's why we insisted on you getting your bank statements and PESA statements as well, right? Yeah, so that you're able to detect those errors in good time. And then they can be corrected before it is too late. And some of us have employees. If you don't check this, you never know whether there is fraud. Is it? You'll come to discover when it's too late. Right? Yeah, a lady had a 10-year-old son. And you know the way mothers are very free with their sons. Nieke your password, like when you're paying and you're maybe holding another baby. So your son gets, or your daughter gets to know your M-Pesa PIN number. So what the son used to do, on a weekend, he'd know mom will not give me money. So he'd go and withdraw. See, he knows the password. Huh? And what we do as entrepreneurs, we are not checking our M-Pesa statements or our bank statements. So this is extremely important for you to be checking your M-Pesa statements, or Telkom money statement, or Airtel money statement, or your bank statements. I really keep insisting on this. There could be fraud going on and you have no clue about it, right? All right, so how do you do it and where do you start? Because this is now why we are here, right? We've learned why we need to do it and how we need to do it. Just start where you are. Some of us start by using an exercise book. And I think an exercise book, Nancy, would cost, I don't know, 20 to 40 shillings. Just a simple one, the one you buy for your children when they're going to school. Just start with that one, if that's where you are. We must start, right? Yeah, so even today before you go home, even if you are not doing this, just go pass in a shop, get that exercise book. Some would use the hard book. This one may cost slightly expensive, but just start. So most of us start here. You know, in church, I used to sit next to a lady who was using her bookkeeping, her exercise book for both the church notes and her business notes. So when she's doing, you could tell, oh, her stock, alifunga na stock here, you know? No, please, let's not do that. We need to separate those things. So you need to have, if you're using an exercise book or the handbook, it needs to be dedicated for your business, right? Yes. Some of us who are a bit digital, then you can use Excel. All these are free. This is free. If you have a laptop or a computer, you may use an Excel sheet, or you may use a Google Sheet. Now, even on Excel, they give you an option of templates. There's a template for budgeting. There's a template for tracking your expenses. You can utilize those templates. If you Google, you can also get those templates as well. But just keep it simple, right? Now, others also automate this more, and some of us use point of sale. That machine that accepts card payments. How many of us use that? How many of us? Oh, we are not yet there. Okay, you will get there, I know that. So when you keep records, then your business will inform you when it's time to adopt that machine. But nowadays it's very cost effective, and we have a number of providers offering that, and so your customers can pay using their cards. So that's also a good form of keeping records, because that can generate a statement on how many payments have been done. The other thing is using e-commerce platforms. So e-commerce platforms can generate for you a statement. How many customers have ordered? How many orders were delivered? How much money did they pay? So that's another good form of record keeping. So as you grow, you will get there. Now, as you grow, then you may use what we call the software tools. Some of these could be free for a limited period of time, or some features would be free. So as your business grows, you may get to this level of using some of the tools like QuickBooks, Wave, Zero, Zoho Books, FreshBooks. These are also available tools to use. But let this not scare you. All what we said is just start. Start where you are. If you start with an exercise book, that's okay. Just start there. But you need to record your business transactions on daily basis. Right? Are we all together to that level? Yes. We are good? Okay, now let's talk about how to make money. Because we must make money. That's our business, is it? As entrepreneurs. So how do you use bookkeeping to make money?